I've never done whole parts.
I'm willing to take little tiny pieces.
There won't even be a scar.
I think I found the problem.
Oh, come on, you're the doctor. Everyone, lights out and quiet.
Welcome back to another episode of your favorite. How do I even open this show, man? Welcome back, everybody, once again to the Media Morgue. That's where it is, where movies come to be examined.
We're back after a long hiatus.
I am one of your hosts, Justin Winley, aka I can't be Smoke or Stack. You guys are probably going to take that, right?
Yeah.
I'm Remick, joined by my fellow surgeons of cinema.
Wes, aka Michael C. Jordan, the third Michael B. Jordan who was left out of Sinners.
Wes is inhaling that microphone right now.
I don't have a microphone, motherfucker.
Oh my god!
What do you want me to step all the way back?
The sound is crunchy right now.
I'm the less attractive of the Gecko brothers, aka Quentin Tarantino.
I'm one of the extras that appeared at the end of Sinners who suddenly started getting killed even though they weren't there before or part of the team, just to pad out the runtime a little bit.
And we're happy to have a guest with us for our first episode back in almost a year, Mr. Marchael Giles.
Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Yeah.
Start over. Do that again.
He's polite now, but he'll loosen up as we get in.
I can't be a nice guy.
This is not who you were 30 seconds ago.
It's because I'm media trained, Zach.
So of course, goes without saying, it's been a long time since we've joined forces, and the show is.
How long has it actually been? Do you know, Justin?
2 years.
Has it been a year?
August was our last release. Of
Wow.
Of last year?
I think it was Long Legs and Manhunter was in August, I believe.
Oh God.
We're older.
Well, anyways, this is where movies come to. How does it go, Justin?
Be examined, chopped, screwed, and
Dissected, but sometimes
they stay buried.
Sometimes they stay buried. That's right. Oh, we're back. It's like
July.
We never even missed a fucking recording. Come on, guys.
It was July of last year.
It's just like riding a bike, this show.
We thought, by way of coming back, we would talk about certainly what's been taking movie theaters by storm, even though it came out about a month ago now, and it's reaching the end of its theatrical run. Sinners by Ryan Coogler. All of us have seen it at least once. I've seen it twice. Wes, did you get to see it more than twice?
I've seen it 3 times.
Me and Wes are the same amount.
Wow.
Yeah. And many people. I mean, I saw it in IMAX once. I was fortunate to get to see it. Wes dragged me to an 11 p.m. show. Much like a vampire, he convinced me to act against my better interests. on a weeknight and go sit in like row G of the Lincoln Center theater looking up.
Is that not like right in front of your face?
I felt the Mississippi heat.
No, that's pretty far back.
No,
for you, Dan. For you, that's far back, Dan.
No, we were like 4 rows from the front.
Yeah.
I like when there's a movie where in the marketing and everything they tell you absolutely have to see this in a theater.
Yeah.
You really don't have any reason not to go to the biggest format that you possibly can to see this movie. I'm a sucker for that.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said, of course, about how he filmed it and how he fought to get it released the way that he wanted to. And we'll get into more of that as we go. I wanted to ask you guys up top. So first of all, those of you listening who have listened to the show before, we're not going to be doing news inside of this episode. We're going to save that for another time. We're just going to get straight into the reviews. And I thought what might be a kind of fun way to open up is this movie's been talked about to death already. I'm sure this isn't the first time you're hearing a review of it if you listen to movie reviews. I wanted to know from each of you guys, maybe we'll start with Marchael since he's the guest and then go around.
Perfect.
Or actually, we'll start with me since I know kind of what my answer is. What do y'all feel like is the most underrated aspect of this film? And like this, if there is a single standout thing, and obviously we're going to talk about it as comprehensively as we can. But what do you think is the part of it that you feel like is the big, not necessarily the big takeaway, but like the most surprising thing or the most underrated or under-reviewed aspect? I'll go first. It's pretty basic, but I really feel like we take this for granted because the technology has existed for a long time and it's not the first instance of it we've seen at all. But I think the twin effect in this is like
Mm-hmm.
really great.
Seamless. Yeah.
And I think that it works not just because of how they actually filmed it, but because of Michael's performance. There was never really a point where Smoke and Stack are in the same scene. And I know logically that's the same actor, but I really always felt like they were two different people. And the way they interact with each other, there's not a lot of like lag in the conversation between them. There's not a lot of like, I can't tell when the double is standing in per se or anything like that. It was really, really good. And they flex it immediately, right? Like as soon as you meet them in the movie, you see, them rolling the joint and he passes it to Stack.
Walking in front of one another as they go into the warehouse to scope it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's gorgeous stuff, and it's aided again by Jordan's performance, which we'll get into more. So that's my answer. Anyone feel like they have one to go next?
Well, piggybacking off of that, your brain just kind of accepts it. I don't think there's any moment past like you said, that first shot of them standing together where you're even thinking about the gimmick. You kind of just accept that there are these two different characters,
right?
And it's never like on your mind, like the technical wizardry that would go into making that so convincing. It's so seamless.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing because I didn't even think about it until this morning actually, when I think I saw like a post and it was like they were talking about how they did it, and I just saw like it looked like a bunch of cameras on Michael B. Jordan, I guess just recording every side of him for I don't know, whatever. But it's similar for me. Like I didn't even think about it. Like I was like, yeah, these are two separate entities. Which is very impressive because I never once felt like I was like, oh yeah, I'm looking to see where I can see exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, Markel.
Oh, I was going to go anyway.
Okay. Hey, fuck me.
Yeah.
Hey, fuck me, right?
Yeah. Yes. Not for me. It's pretty simple. For me, it was like the use of music. But like not even just like everyone jokes about the rod wave at the end. They're like, why the fuck is this here? And like I understood it, but also at the same time, I'm like, did we have to pick rod wave? But I think for me, it was more so how do I want to say this? It's kind of like it really highlighted what music means like to us, and by us I mean like the Black community. Where it's just like you saw Ryan use it in many different facets, like in Celebration, just like in the juke joint, where they were having a good time, with like Mourning and Sadness, with Delta in the car when he was talking about his friend and how he got killed, how he just kind of like seamlessly, I don't want to say like seamlessly, but he uses like the music as a way to like deflect in a way to get away from that hurt, but also he took that hurt and transitioned it into something beautiful. So it's like seeing the different ways, just like how music plays a part in all of us and like how it's inside of us. So that for me, I was like, damn, it just added as like an additional layer to the film that I thought was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to lean back as to not hurt Zach's ears.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I think for me, and I may have spoken about this before. For me, it was the editing. I think the editing in this film is pretty wonderful, especially in the opening kind of sequence of the movie where Sammy staggers into the church and his dad grabs him, and we're intercutting between the church, which is like this really stark white.
Put the guitar down, Sammy.
Yeah. Like shoots, Autumn shoots the church to be very white and kind of stark against kind of Sammy, who's like drenched in blood and he's in black, and the way they kind of hijack what he's seeing with all these images of the night before, I think is pretty wonderful. But I also just think the pacing of the film is pretty sharp. It's a 2.5 hour movie that tries to pull like the Dusk Till Dawn trick of having vampires show up halfway through, and it doesn't to me feel like you're waiting for the vampires to show up in the first half, which I think is a success of editing and pacing.
No, when they do, it's like, oh great, like this movie already has such a great foundation, and now there's vampires. Like I can't wait to see where this goes. Once Remick shows up, it just becomes more exciting.
Yeah.
For my bit, speaking of Remick and kind of piggybacking off of what Markel said about music being a character in this, I think it's so interesting how the supporting cast is also like musically astute, and I'm talking about Delroy Lindo, Miles Caton, who apparently didn't know how to play the guitar until he got the part, and then practiced for months, and then is like just a knockout in this movie. So much of the supporting cast, music is a big part of like the fabric of who they are. Obviously, Remick uses the Irish jigs as this way of assimilating the rest of the vampires, and so much of Delta Slim's blues is kind of informed of his life of hard work and suffering, and it's really cool that the supporting cast is so enhanced by the history of their people's music.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into, I guess, the next most interesting thing to talk about is the interpretation of vampires in this movie, who obviously are a super familiar, mythological creature, and later it's already been, someone mentioned it, but we're also reviewing this in conjunction with From Dusk Till Dawn, which will be in our second segment. And in there, vampires are a lot more like just kind of pure monsters, and you stumble, it's like you accidentally kick a hornet's nest and now you're surrounded by them and you have to fight to survive. The vampires here are representative of so many things. And I was watching, and I'll probably be paraphrasing a lot of what she said because she had a really smart review. The Morbid Zoo on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have watched any of her stuff. She was talking about Sinners, and something that she said that really is sticking with me is the way that, I think going into the movie, and this could reflect like my own bias or my expectations about Ryan Coogler himself, or just like the kind of black genre filmmaking as it has been for the last few years. I was anticipating a more direct sort of like white people bad kind of narrative, like white people are vampires, and that's like the thing. The movie is really more sophisticated than that. The vampires are a more nuanced tool, I think, in the narrative than that. It's less about the vampires being attached to one specific kind of ethnicity and more about them representing a pattern of behavior and like a state of mind that like is just perpetually consumptive and dissatisfied, and ultimately
assimilation.
And tragic, right? Like they're not able to produce anything new, or maybe the only way they can feel anything new is by assimilating others, right?
Getting new memories.
That's the whole tragedy of Remick. Is his family was I guess colonized by the British, right? He speaks briefly about those men he hated who like took his father's land and taught him those words, which was so comforting to him when Sammy is giving that prayer at the end. It implies so much about the history of his character and where his specific vampirism comes from.
Definitely. And there's a kind of a I guess the most obvious connection is that at some point Remick, if he was originally an Irish person, right, before he became a vampire, was himself part of an oppressed people group, right? And now as a vampire, he's like recreating this pyramid of oppression, but he doesn't see it that way. He sees it as an opportunity to provide people some path to, whether it's enlightenment. I mean, Wes, we've talked about this, but it's it's like he's starting a church. Is basically, kind of what
the funniest fucking line in the movie is that a white lady vampire. She goes, "We're going to start a new clan based on love." Not a bad performance from the supporting cast in this.
No, everybody is locked in, but it doesn't stop the vampires from also being just like cool in general. Like there's a lot of effective, I think, action moments in this when they actually are, fighting and biting.
And nuance in their design, man. I mean, those Salem's Lot eyes, me and Wes were talking about that. The way they glimmer in the light.
So cool. I love also, like I always love when like they go back to the roots of like vampire lore, like the fact that they have to ask to be invited in first. You know what I mean? Like that's great. You know what I mean? And that's just adds a whole layer to the story and like the tension of like, are they going to, you know what I mean? Like let them in, are they going to understand that something is wrong, or are they, just invite them in and then they invade their home, which I'm sure there's a smarter metaphor in there somewhere that I just can't think of at the moment. But like you invite someone in and then they they pervert your safe space, and now they have made it their own.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just
Yeah.
cut everything I said before and just cut right from when I started that sentence to that.
I'll make a mental note of that. Zach.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
I think another interesting thing too is that like is for lack of better words, it was just like really rooted in just like the idea of like saviorism or in like white saviorism, where it's just like for Remnick, like he like even when they're at the door and they ask him, it's like, "Oh, you with the Klan?" He took like actual offense to it. He was like, "Oh."
Sir, we believe in equality.
He was like, "Yo, chill with all that." But like for him, still, it was like his reason behind doing that was that like he felt as though that they had a common enemy. He was just like, "Yo, both these people are trying to get us. Why don't we?" He was like, "Why don't I come in, make everything better for y'all, give y'all eternal life. You strong, you can fly now. Then we can go get them together." Because he was like, "Hey, he was like, these two people with the Klan, they're about to come up in here tomorrow with old boy that sold y'all the spot and kill y'all anyway." He was like, "But if y'all let me in, I can make y'all vampires. They pull up tomorrow. We got the one up on them. Like, I'm helping y'all at the end of the day."
Yeah.
Which is something I thought was so interesting too, because like for him, it didn't come from like a place of like traditional like racism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn, this is actually like very creative how like Ryan did this, because it could have easily went the route of just like making and I think he kind of like, what's the word? He kind of like suckered us into thinking that it could be that where in the trailer you see Haley with the blood all over her face. She's just like, "We're gonna kill every last one of you." And you make it. He makes you believe going into it, it's like, "Oh, this is gonna be like a racist, like black versus whites thing,"
Mm-hmm.
where it is to a degree, but it's done in such an interesting, nuanced way. Where I was like, "Wow, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this." And if I have, it's really not up to par because I can't remember it right now. So
Yeah. Well, he's more forgiving, certainly, of vampires than he is of the Klan. Which the Klan, the way they get dispatched in this, I haven't heard a crowd get that loud in a fucking movie theater in a really long time. And you guys know how much I love like a really rowdy crowd for like an opening night of like a horror movie, a blockbuster, an IMAX. This is two of those things. Everybody was going fucking nuts for that scene where he just massacres the Klan. Like loud, like Avengers loud, like people screaming. Everybody was so hyped,
throwing popcorn.
Like what a way to end a movie.
Yeah. To your point, Markel, another thing that Morbid Zoo mentioned that I think really connects with what you just said is the fact that you have twins as the protagonists, right? And that like one twin becomes a vampire and one doesn't. And I think that's obviously very intentional in showing that like one of them could, I mean, obviously Stack didn't choose to become a vampire. Like he was seduced, and then he was, which we'll talk about. But the point just being that like it shows that that there were choices to make outside of just the identity, outside of just like or at least the physical aspects of identity that could lead two people who are not the same, but like very similar, almost the same person, down these wildly different paths, or lead them to these very different answers and solutions. To just get more into individual performances, I already mentioned it up top, but I think Michael B. Jordan is quite good in this. I feel like he's doing like, I think this is, I'll say it's my personal favorite performance of his since Creed, the first Creed. And of course he's doing, two performances. He is. I wonder how that'll break down come award season, whether like they'll try to just run him for both or they'll run him for one or the other. I think, it's clear that like Stack is the one who's kind of more in his wheelhouse of like charismatic, flirtatious, braggadocious, and then
Confident.
Smoke is the one who he really has to like, there's a physical difference. The voice is a little different. It's deeper. It's huskier. There's just, I'm not saying there's more going on, but it's more of a stretch for him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I see definitely what you're saying, but I felt like he kind of had to stretch for both because like I mean for like say like Killmonger, that's obviously there's more of Smoke in that performance, like it's more pulled back. Obviously we can talk about Killmonger because I have thoughts on that, but And then when it came to Stack, like it's more of this charismatic role for him, but it's very intentional and very specific in like a way that I don't think is like immediately in his wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Like, yes, that character just has a little more swagger to him, but it's like it feels different than other roles where he's just playing like a cool guy. You know what I mean? Like
Do you
they're
think
very go ahead.
Do you think the accent work has like grounded him? Was part of that? Like he like having to
Yeah.
focus on that specific.
Yeah. I think because it just helps build a character. You know what I mean? Like when you also have the accent, it's like, yeah, this is a different person than who I am. And then from that, like you can either sink or swim. And I think for him, it allowed him to become more specific in each role.
Yeah, I agree with
what I
you.
mean? Yeah.
But if we're gonna talk awards, which we don't really do on this show, if we're talking about awards, it's a lock, I think, for Delroy Lindo, supporting actor. He is a scene stealer in anytime he's on screen. And Markel already brought up that monologue he does in the back of the car. That would be what I choose for his little sizzle reel.
He's
God, he's good, man. He's good.
He's phenomenal, and does like he does what some of the best actors are able to do, which is like you said, maximize every bit of screen time he has. He like within the same scene will be like laugh out loud funny, and then very, very ironically sobering in his dramatic turn. I don't know whether or not, to your point earlier about the music, he actually learned to play harmonica or already knew that. I wouldn't be surprised if Delroy just knew how to play harmonica, but really, really great work from him. I also was pleasantly surprised to see Omar Miller in this, who played Cornbread.
Oh my god, dude.
So
every time I saw this, my audience laughed when a Cornbread's taking a piss, and you can hear Remick whispering at him, and he's going, "Brothership and love, brothership and love, cornbread." So funny.
I mean, it was just nice to see him. Wunmi Masaku, I think, is like
she's
tremendous.
fucking great, man.
And speaking again of accent
killer.
work, like the Gullah dialect that she's doing, she's just a really it gives her voice a really cool I don't know, I want to say color or texture. I really, really love. I mean, there's so many scenes that I think are great, but the scene where Smoke comes to see her at the shack and asks her to cook, like that whole reunion scene. I mean, that's like, it's beautifully shot. Man. The romance is great. You got the score under them. Ludwig Göransson is insane. Like what he did on this movie is nuts. So she's, and then
the dialogue there is fucking fantastic, man. He's like, "Why don't I make you some real money?" She's like, "I don't want your money. Your money comes with blood.
Your money come with blood." Yeah, even the way she says blood, it's like
she actually the second and third time I saw this, that scene at the very end. I guess we're talking spoilers, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, what the fuck is wrong with you? Come on.
Exactly.
She is holding the baby, and she goes, "If you put that cigarette out, I'll let you hold him." And this is right after the catharsis of him like murdering the Klan. And dude, Coogler manages to get in such, not even a heartstring tug, like it just right on your fucking. It's like, oh, we're right back into kind of the tragedy of this, and it's like kind of a really beautiful moment. And then he cuts through it with having Smoke shoot that last Klansman,
blast him to pieces.
Dude, the tonal juggle that he does here is really. I always just really appreciate that from a filmmaker when they have all these tones and they can juggle them in a way that seems just like so effortless.
I want I just cut.
What's going on?
Yeah,
do I get cut?
No, you're good, Dan. It's just Wes's. I got a warning that Wes's thing had stopped recording.
So he's gone.
Hallelujah.
At least he died doing what he loved. Podcasting with his friends.
Scrolling through his phone while we talk on the podcast.
And saying, yeah, totally. Wait, Zach, is this your new house?
Yes.
Hey, folks, for the folks listening at home, Zach recently moved into a new apartment. Let's get chats in the clap.
For those of you listening at home, his new address is.
Thank you. No. I live in Queens.
We're actually recording this podcast from inside of Zach's walls.
I'm under that lampshade right now, bro. It's a wraps.
Let's get back on track.
Okay. Justin, get us back.
So, Wes, you and I. Oh,
All right, I'm gonna put on some Bloodborne. You guys let me know when we're getting back to the show.
well, we unfortunately we lost Wes. He had a little bit of a connectivity issue. Hopefully, he can be back, or we'll get his thoughts in somehow. We were about to mention Jack O'Connell, who plays Remick in this movie. We've talked about the character, but Jack himself. Wes said when we talked about it before, he comes from the same kind of like class of British actors as like Daniel Kaluuya. He's a contemporary of that kind of era, and I think he's great in this. I mean, again, like when you're using vampires in this way, not as they are evil, but not as like a maniacal, sadistic kind of force. You want someone who represents a sort of casual, nature, who has kind of an ease about him, and I think Jack portrays that really well. He's
persuasive, certainly.
Yeah, it's not just about
he's charismatic. Yeah,
they would have gotten me, man.
they almost got Smoke. He was out that door.
He was, yeah. It's there's this one shot, probably one of my favorite shots in the movie, after Grace, the deli owner,
Lee Jun Lee.
Yeah, Lee Jun Lee. When she's like, "Come on in," and there's just that solo of Remick like standing, hands in pockets.
Yes, he's like
in the aspect ratio.
Yeah, it's so great,
so cool.
It's so great. Yeah, so he's fantastic. And then to talk about Haley, who represents as what's that character's name? Mary. Is like, she does occupy a very intentional role in the film as like a mixed race woman in the what was this, the 30s, the 40s, the 30s, in the South, right? So she has this past relationship with Stack and the other, with Stack. And this is it's a romance too. At the heart of the story are these two romances, one between Smoke and Annie, and the other between Mary and Stack. Theirs being complicated because of the fact that she's a white passing. Well, she's a white woman. I mean, she's got like a little bit of black in her, but she's for all intents and purposes, she's a white woman. But she has this legitimate, connection with the community. Again, to your earlier point, Markel, seeing her in the trailer, I'm coming into the movie, and this is, I don't like to criticize, especially these days, because it's almost impossible to avoid this. I don't like to criticize movies for how they're advertised too much, because that's sometimes just like a decision that's like not entirely within the filmmaker's hands. It's sometimes up to the studio. It's sometimes up to like whatever. So that being said, I came into this movie with an expectation that like I was looking at Haley Steinfeld sideways from jump, because I thought I remembered that trailer moment. And I'm like, okay, she's a vampire, and at some point we're going to figure it out. But actually, she's an ally to an extent. Like, she doesn't just know Stack. She knows Annie. She knows Cornbread. She knows all these folks. She grew up with them. So it's actually more of a tragedy in a sense when she gets turned.
I still cannot believe that that's the little girl from True Grit. What the fuck? He gives her some raunchy shit to say in this. Yeah. She goes, "You stuck your tongue in my coos and fucked me so good. I thought you had a change of heart." I was sitting there like, God damn!
Really threw it at us.
From True Grit.
Really threw it at us.
Really good
this
line.
Is within the first 2 minutes of her screen time, by the way. But
that's Kate Bishop.
That is Kate Bishop. Yes,
I forgot about the entirety of that Hawkeye thing, but I don't think I'm alone there.
Fair enough.
Wait. So that's something that I also thought about, that they like their personalities, like they become like kind of like evil when they turn into vampires, or at least that's what it seems like, because she obviously is like, she has this like bloodlusted moment where she's like, we're gonna kill every last one of you, which I imagine is because they've inherited these memories, so it's like they are kind of immediately like a part of the cause now. Like I that's kind of where I took it. Like now they all feel the way he does, and they're like, yes, now we, and then my thing was like at the end of the movie where they, they seem like, I don't know, like not themselves again, but Stack is able to have this really nice like moment with Sammy where he's like, that was the best day of my life up until we were all slaughtered. You know what I mean? Like it's, I wonder, is it like because Remick was like killed that they're able to kind of have this like lucid, you know what I mean? Like where, basically my question is, where are their personalities and like more morals still?
Because wouldn't there have to be like a new leader? And in that case,
Yeah.
would Stack be the new leader?
Interesting.
Probably, right?
That's interesting. I
It's
never
an
thought
interesting question.
How does the hive mind work?
He grabs Mary after Annie is killed, and that I think is actually after that's a good question, Zach. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think that is the moment that actually is what shifts things for Mary and Stack.
Yeah.
But we don't see that fulfilled per se, because then it's like that's the last time we see Mary, at least for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Right.
But she genuinely wanted Annie to be with them.
Right. Be
So
one of them,
Annie's death actually like ruined her. That's why
Yes.
she starts crying.
They are still deep down like their selves, but they
Mhm.
just have all of these other voices and memories like present within their consciousness. I think
That makes
it's
sense.
weird because it's like a hive mind, but like deep down, like they still have like their own agency that they had when they were alive.
Yeah.
And it's subtle enough that it leaves so much room for interpretation.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's kind of just what I was curious about, because it's like their personalities seem to change when they become vampires. Like all of a sudden they're just like they have this malice to them. But then you have these moments like where Stack comes to the door when he's trying to get Smoke to come with him, and he's like, "Fuck you, I'm talking to my brother right now." And you're like, okay, like he's, you know what I mean? Like they're there. It's just like
He goes,
it
"Fuck you,
feels.
it is me."
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, exactly. And it's like they're trapped within these like this new shell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that's why seeing it 2 times was I think really helpful for me, particularly because I was trying to understand what the vampire's motivation was, and it does seem like I think there's like I mean, like the movie doesn't explain it in literal terms, and that's for the best. But it seems like yes, there's this sort of wave of euphoria upon like transforming, and then when you settle into it, they seem to all kind of realize like, no, actually, I really do believe that this is like the best way to experience life. And so when Stack comes back to the door to try to talk to Smoke, it's not. That's why I think there's no like venom in it. There's no malice, because he's like, yeah, this is my brother, and like if anyone's gonna get him to do this, it would be me. And he almost does. Like it does seem for a second in Michael's other performance as Smoke that he wants to lean into that.
Oh yeah.
Before eventually, he gets convinced otherwise. A lot more could be said about the music. I think, and I went to see this with the first time in Dolby with Amir and Ahmad, and
Nice.
during some of the sequences, I leaned over to Amir and I was like, "This is a musical. Like it's not just a movie that has music in it, but the way that it utilizes music in the narrative and to signal like plot changes and to introduce character and all that. Like it effectively, it very easily could even be staged. I think, which would be interesting to see.
Wow, that'd be crazy.
It kind of felt like a play with music almost, where it's just like I've seen like there have been productions of like shows that take place in churches and stuff like that, and they integrate sometimes sometimes the music's written into the script and sometimes like it's not, but like seeing how like sometimes like plays and like theater pieces will pick music that like wove like nicely into the piece, and then also like having those characters sing too, so like it felt very theatrical to a point. Especially like, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet. That entire one shot of Preacher Boy performing in the joint.
Just about to mention it.
That again,
maybe the best part of the entire movie.
So cool.
It was, and like Wes racks on me a lot because I say that there's one point in that sequence that kind of took me out, but like not in regards that I thought it was bad. It was just like it was kind of funny juxtaposed to everything else. It was
what was
like,
it?
It was like it was the one shot. It kept spinning, and it's like. We got to like the 80s, 90s, and like people were breakdancing. I'm okay, like all right, I'm with it. Like you see like the traditional music of like just you just see like the traditional music and like how it was done back with our ancestors in Africa, and then like it spins one more time and it gets like current day, and then like we just get the chicks like twerking in a circle. For me, I just bursted out fucking laughing. Miles Kenton over here singing the blues with his fucking like, knickers on, and like his
stallion in the corner,
and they out there throwing ass in the corner. I was like, "Come the fuck on, Ryan!" I was like, "You're a nasty man."
Yeah, I mean this movie we haven't talked about it too much. We're being quite polite actually. Maybe it's because it's our first show back. There's a lot of sex in the movie.
The movie's fucking raunchy. Going back to what Markel was saying about Sammy, at one point he's trying to go down on that lady, and he goes, "I just want to taste you," And every fucking, because I've seen this 3 times, every time he says that, people in the audience are like, what? Like, I think people just are not like accustomed to movies being like raunchy like they used to be. This is
Yeah.
like an old school raunchy fucking. There's a lot of talk of pussy eating, sex and sweat and spitting in mouths and licking and fucking.
I'm sorry.
It's raunchy as fuck. I really, really like
And
that.
I think to a degree though, I think it's because, and like this has more to do with where we are today, but I think it's like it has more to do with our idea of like raunchiness, where it's just like, for me, I feel like
Right.
it could have been a lot more raunchier.
Well,
But it was
I
just
only
like,
mean in comparison to like what we see now, like we're in such like a sexless era of movies.
oh yeah,
I mean, movie like whenever there's sex scenes in movies now, people start discourse about it online, whereas that just used to be part and parcel of seeing movies. 2 characters become close, and then the characters have sex like they do in real life. And I think, especially in blockbusters, like there was such a good write up where it's like everyone is sexy but no one's fucking. But then you get like kind of an old school thing where people are spitting in each other's mouths, and
that is still a step further than the standard sex scene. I think.
I don't know.
But
The next movie we're talking about is From Dusk Till Dawn. That movie's got much raunchier shit.
That is.
Yeah, I can gladly say I've never seen someone spit in someone's mouth in 70 millimeter. That was the first time in my life I've ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, I mean it's part of obviously the atmosphere setting of the movie, and I've thought about it a lot.
Time out. I'm sorry, Justin. We kind of lightly glance upon this, but can we talk about how Jamie Lawson was itching to cheat on her husband? Why was she so adamant to cheat on him? Can we have gotten a little backstory about that? Like, if it was like like Sammy just like alluded to him being like, oh, but like, does he treat you right? Like, are you happy like in that marriage? Like, if we got a little more, because I didn't feel bad for her. She cheated on her husband and got God. I'm like, yeah, that nigga was at home with your kids, living a good life. He might have been a sharecropper too, picking the con. He was like, damn, I'm gonna come home. Where's my wife at? Where's Perline at? She over there getting her cooter eaten by a 19-year-old little boy.
Her old Mississippi, unwashed, sweaty, been dancing around all night.
She said, I walked
eaten
here.
Out by Sammy in that fucking broom closet.
She walked there because her husband couldn't drive her there. She couldn't tell her husband what she was on.
The implication that one implication I saw that I kind of like is that she was never actually married. She was using it as like foreplay.
Sure.
But no. If she was also, and this is what I was about to pivot into.
Think like a woman.
I don't have a fully formulated take on how this movie exactly interacts with religion, but the movie is called Sinners, right? And obviously a lot of it is about like the wages of sin, and I'm speaking specifically from like a Christian perspective, and it's not like there's parts of it, there are certain lines that are directly like anti-Christian, and then there's other stuff where it's like, well, maybe there's kind of a way in which, like, for example, Sammy's father was right in saying that if you keep playing this music, the devil's going to show up at your door, whatever. Like, it doesn't, what I'm saying is I don't have a fully formulated take, but I think
it's a bit messy.
There's a permeation throughout the whole script of like what it means to sin in any given way. And I think, for example, if Jamie Lawson's character is married and she's stepping out, then even that is like part of the, right? Like it's infidelity. You're cheating on your husband. So that would, either way, I think whether she is or isn't, or rather what I really mean to say is if she is married, then it makes more sense for the theme maybe of the movie.
I think something really interesting that I picked up on, and I feel like a lot of Black artists, like we end up referring to like the greats of our history, whether that be like in literature and film and stuff like that. And what I'm speaking till now is that like there was certain like Baldwin-esque like vibe to this movie. And what I mean by that is that he has a really interesting thing that he writes in the foreword for one of the 2 plays. I think he wrote 3. One of the plays that he wrote, Blues for Mr. Charlie. Where he's speaking about just like racism, especially in like the rural South, and how he wanted to portray it. He was kind of speaking about how that no one is free of, for lack of better words, like no one's free of being like a bad person. Whereas it's like there's kind of like evil in all of us in a way, to like a greater degree and to like a lesser degree. And like he shows that in that play, he shows it with the Reverend, where it's like the Reverend, he preaches about God, he preaches about wanting to give back to his community and stand up for his community. But then he juxtaposes that to him essentially like sleeping with like this younger woman and then like being with this woman out of wedlock and like all these different things. And there was a certain vibe that I got in that through Sinners as well, where it's just like no one's really, it's kind of like too where it's just like we're always used to like the traditional protagonist like being good in some way, shape, or form. But like in a way, like Smoke and Stack are like anti-heroes, like they're criminals, they're bad guys. But there's good in them because they're fighting for like the goodness of their people at the end of the day, and like they're protecting the people that they love. But at the end of the day, they robbed the Italians and the Irish, like you know.
And they fucking shot those guys in the ass and the kneecap for trying to lift their truck. You know?
They're infamous people. Like their name is infamous. It's like you don't hear about the vibe that you get from the beginning of the film is like when you hear the Stack twins. It wasn't like oh my god, the Stack twins are back. Yeah. We're saved. I was like fuck, these niggas is back.
Well, they're mythic, right? They're mythic. Like when that girl tells them this is Stack's truck, like they don't believe her. Yeah, because like they're like complete myths around these parts. They've been spoken about so much, right?
And I love the implied history. I mean, I hope that Ryan Coogler is able to. First of all, he can do whatever he wants with this. It's his intellectual property. It's his story. We didn't really get into this, but he worked out a deal where after like 25 years, the rights for the film revert back to him.
Cool as hell,
which is really great.
Very cool.
But I love the implied.
And that should be more common.
It should. I love the implied history. The reason I said that is because there's a certain version of events where like this story becomes the nexus of a spin-off or a prequel about like the Smokestack twins. I don't really need that. I love the fact that like we hear that they were in World War I together. They wound up in Chicago. They probably they split up and they infiltrated these different gangs. There's like there's speculation as to that's why they dress slightly differently, that Smoke was more in with the Irish, so that's why he has the little Kangol, and Stack was with the Italians, that's why he's got the wide brim fedora.
That's cool.
I love the implied history of the characters, and I love how rich the world seems and feels, and this is all like the costume design, the cinematography, the production design, all of it. Obviously this place is this story world feels very lived in. And that's a testament to what Ryan and his cinematographer, Autumn Durald, and the rest of the team was able to create. So, I really love the movie. I mean, I 4 out of 5 stars is what I gave it on Letterboxd. Are there any final thoughts, as we go around here? We get ready to let Markel go. Markel, why don't you go first? Is there anything left that you wanted to kind of shout out about the movie?
Just how true to form it was. One of the things that I learned recently, I'm gonna keep bringing theater up for the people listening at home. I am a theater artist, but one of the things that I found out recently was it's because of production I went into, but the Asian population and presence in the Mississippi Delta. I had no idea that was a fucking thing. So I was reading the script and I was like, why the fuck are they there? But then I like, as you do when you get auditions and just like wanting to be like a person that isn't ignorant, you look into it and you realize just how like, and like I think about it too, where it's just like if you look at film and stuff like that, you see certain like shopkeepers in films like Don't Be a Menace to Society. You're like, how did these people end up in these predominantly like Black communities? And then you go back and you realize that it's always been a thing, and it started because of the Mississippi Delta. So one of the things that I found was that's one of the things that I found was interesting, was them being there, but then also like how from there they were with like even their accent work. It wasn't like a thing that like got like interesting where it's just like they had like different accents or like things like that. It was like they were also native to that part of town. Which I found was like very beautiful, but was also very insightful because there's so many people like me that had no idea that was the thing that was going on down there during that time. So
that was a surprise to me as well, but it was very well done. And a shout out to Yao, who plays Bo Chow in this. I think kind of a breakout role for him. He also was really great, Filipino Malaysian actor. Hope to see more of him. Hey. Zach, any final thoughts and or a rating for the movie?
I mean, I'll give it a 4 out of 5 stars, 4.5 stars. Wait, what did I say? What did I
Yeah,
say?
4 out of 5, 4.5.
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
5.
Wait, I don't know why all of a sudden that sounded weird in my head. 4.5 stars out of 5.
You had
Okay,
a
I almost
stroke.
said 4.5, five
It's
out of
okay.
5 stars. Okay. Um, I thought it was I loved it. I just think it's very well done. It's very well told. It's very complex, but it's also simple too. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's just these people who they're trying to have a good time. They're, trying to be free, trying to have fun, and then it becomes a movie about survival. And like it just being both, you know what I mean? Like just being like having all these layers, but also still being just like a fun, thrilling movie. Was
Yeah.
beautiful, and I especially love the ending where Stack is just talking about like it was the last time I saw the sunrise, last time I saw my brother. Just those last
Mhm.
shots are so beautiful. Like them just standing, like it's just the shot of their
Mhm.
backs looking at the sunrise,
Mhm.
and the shot of that last shot of them driving away in the car. It's just an emotional story, and it's just so well told. Yeah, so I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah. Dan?
That after credit scene that Zach was talking about really ties the whole thing together. Kind of crazy that it's like a
Yeah.
mid credits stinger because it is so
Yeah.
important. It's like the most important shit. You find out the fate of Sammy's career and everything. Uh, God, it's gonna be remembered probably as like a modern
I think so.
classic, maybe the best blockbuster of the year,
Mhm.
probably the best blockbuster of the year. Uh, it's cool. It's a horror film and a musical and a western. The western elements are really understated, but like they're there. And the tricky themes of religion that you were talking about, Justin, I think there's so much to poke
Mhm.
at and discuss there. Because it doesn't offer easy answers. Like there is a lot to interpret
Mhm.
here, far more than I think I originally thought there was. So it's pretty much a
Mhm.
5 star. I mean, I can't really detract
Mhm.
anything. It's such an interesting movie, so propulsive. 2.5 hours
Yeah,
just fly
Yeah.
absolutely.
by.
Yeah. Mega shout out. Like Dan said, if you haven't seen Sinners by now, I don't know what you're doing. We all recommend you go check it out. Markel, thanks so much for joining us on the show, man. We hope to have you back sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Wait,
Thanks
wait,
for
wait.
having me.
Let's just do a shout out. Make sure you like. I don't know if anybody has left before those like credits are done rolling, but Jesus Christ, make sure that you stay for those.
Some
That's
people did.
so. That's
Some people
horrible
did.
because that's the
Yeah.
actual ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, it's tough. It's a slightly straight. I kind of wonder why not just hold off on the credit drop until after, but whatever.
interesting.
It is what it is. Yeah, we will now take our break, and then the rest of us will be back for From Dusk Till Dawn, unless someone gets picked off in between now and when we start recording again. Who can say? Deuces.
Find out next time.
And we're off.
Welcome back, everybody. So the second section of the show today will be devoted to talking a little bit about Quentin Tarantino. Well, actually, excuse me, Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn, written by Quentin Tarantino. But before we get into that cult classic, Wes had to drop off before he could finish giving us more of his thoughts on Sinners. Wanted to throw him a bit of time at the top of this. What do you call it? Segment here, just to kind of go over anything that you didn't get to about the movie. Obviously, you saw it. I think you saw it 3 times, at least twice. I know I went with you.
I saw it 3 times. Yeah. Twice
Yeah,
with my girlfriend.
yeah.
Twice in IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to gamify this actually, Justin.
Oh,
Um, if you would put 90 seconds on the clock,
okay.
I'm going to try to say all the things I like about Sinners in 90 seconds.
All right. This is perfect. I love the way your mind works. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. So obviously Coogler is one of my favorite working directors. So I was of course going to love Sinners, but I think Sinners is probably his greatest accomplishment in the film, in the cinematic art form. I think although Creed is probably always going to be my favorite, Sinners is probably the best movie he's made so far. I think in terms of the way he uses format to tell the story is better than any director in my lifetime, at least maybe other than Christopher Nolan, the way that where he chooses to expand the aspect ratio and contract it. I think Miles Catton playing Sammy is kind of a revelation as a young actor. I hope he gets more work. I think Michael B. Jordan does the best performance I've seen him do since like The Wire. He's really wonderful in the film playing two characters, and I think the reason the performance works is because Smoke is such a fully developed character that he gets to have a little bit of fun and do the movie star role with Stack. Um, Jamie Lawson, God bless you. Uh, I think Woomy is like a movie star that needs to be in more movies. I think she's
Yeah.
wonderful in the film. I think she's kind of the heart of the film.
Mhm.
I really love the score. I think it's Ludwig Göransson's best score. I love what they do with the vampire lore. There's something interesting about Remick being almost the Irish version of what Bram Stoker would have made if he'd made Dracula Irish instead of vaguely Eastern European. And I think
4,
Jack O'Connell is incredible. You should watch him in
2,
20 Years Later because he's great in that movie as well.
1.
And
Nicely
I
done.
like that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, no, well, thank you, Wes. I think you were very successful in condensing what I know are a lot of thoughts. And one more thing one more thing that's come to light in the sort of like release now into Sinners is out on streaming, and so people are digging into the behind the scenes. Ryan Coogler's been he's doing press anyway because he has to promote Ironheart, and then he's also talking about Sinners. And I thought something he said on 7 p.m. in Brooklyn, which I really appreciated, was like, I think they asked him like, do you think this is your best movie, or is this your favorite movie or something like that? He said, man, when I was 23 years old, like when I made Creed, I made the best movie I could make at that
Yeah.
time. When I made Fruitvale, I made the best movie I could make right then. And Sinners feels like the best movie I could possibly make right now, and now that it's made, like it doesn't even belong to me anymore. It's for y'all. Like y'all get to decide, oh, this one, that one is better. I just, I've made it, and I'm satisfied with that. So I really appreciate his perspective
He
there.
said when he made Fruitvale at 25 years old, which is insane when you watch Fruitvale Station.
Mhm.
That a 25-year-old made.
Wise
It's like,
beyond its years.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like when I don't know how old Spielberg was when he made Jaws. I think he was like 24. You're just kind of like, that's insane. I don't know how to
Jaws
say
feels like, though, it was like from a 24-year-old. Like Fruitvale feels almost like it would be like a guy in his like 40s who's done like a
Dan
lot of
just rolling down the window with a 2x4 as he smacks Steven Spielberg.
And this is not to dunk on Jaws. That's, I think, one of my favorite things about Jaws is it feels like it's work from a very young and hungry filmmaker.
Yeah, so he made Duel when he was 24, and he made Jaws, I think, when he was 26. Yeah,
Gotcha.
he was 27 when Jaws was finished.
Yeah.
27?
When Jaws finished, it was fully
Yeah,
finished.
you're on a good timeline there, Wes.
Yeah, I just have to make my Jaws now, like right
Yeah.
now.
So now Spielberg is 77 because Jaws just turned 50. That's crazy.
Wow.
Dan, what's your favorite Spielberg movie of the last 20 years? Quickly.
The
Just
last
first one
20
off the
years,
top of your head.
probably Fablemans.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, he did love that
Fablemans is
movie.
pretty good.
Yeah, West Side Story for me probably,
West Side Story was great.
and then War of the Worlds. I think it's
Fantastic
really
movie.
great.
Fantastic.
I
movie.
saw that when I was very young. I don't remember.
Got to rewatch it.
Mhm.
You
So
got to
do I.
watch it as an adult, Dan. There's a great Wizard of
Oh,
Oz
sorry,
homage when he opens the door and he has to like get through the door. It's the same shot composition. It's
I've
great.
noticed a lot of movies, like, it's a very different experience rewatching them as an adult.
Yeah.
Like Dusk Till Dawn, which
Yeah,
you
was
watched
that
as a kid, Dan.
the case for you, Dan? So this was Dan's recommendation actually from Dusk Till Dawn. So why don't you you take the reins on this, man? Your
This
initial
is
impressions.
one of the ultimate, like, cool uncle, older brother movies that, like, you see when you're a little bit too young for it. From Dusk Till Dawn is kind of singular in that it's the best parts of Rodriguez's eye for action and this almost comic book grittiness that we would see him take into Sin City later on. And Tarantino's love for westerns, seedy characters,
Yeah.
and it's also the only time he's ever dabbled in the horror genre. I feel like of these two auteurs, this film, in both the way it's directed and the way it's written, plays to those guys' strengths. And it's just kind of a funny, campy, gory vampire movie. And it's a really great, probably one of the greatest turn your brain off movies ever made. For years, when this would show up on cable, I would just like drop what I was doing and watch it. It's a great start halfway through and like just pick up with that kind of movie. in no small part due to the fact that halfway through it becomes a completely different movie, which I just
Yeah.
think is so unique.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun movie to pitch to people. Like, have you ever heard of From Dusk Till Dawn? It starts
Mhm.
as this gangster thing and then turns into this like bottle film vampire thing, and it's like fucking fantastic in both halves. It has some of my favorite practical effects I think I've ever seen in a film from the god Tom Savini, who I'm sure
Ah,
you guys remember. We went to see Dawn of the Dead in 3D,
yeah.
and Tom Savini shows up, and there was that big round of applause. He's a cult favorite. He
Yeah, yeah.
plays the guy in this movie who has the penis revolver that
Yes.
he yanks
Classic.
on a chain and it shoots out of his pants and he shoots. And that's pretty much it. I love From Dusk Till Dawn. There is one scene that detracts from it for me, but we'll get there.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
interested in what that is. I wonder what
pass
that
this
is.
around. Zach, this was your first time seeing it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, and I definitely thought when we first brought it up, I'd confused it with a movie that Ethan Hawke did called I think it's like 30 Days and Nights or something like that, which is another vampire movie.
30 Days of
Um,
Night. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. What did I say? 30 Days and Night.
Yeah, but
Doesn't matter.
yes,
Who
very
cares?
Yeah, it's a
biblical.
different movie. It's a movie about a guy in college.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I really liked the the whole thing of it being a completely separate movie that I was very invested in, until and then it turns into a vampire movie. I think that's really fun because I cared about what was happening beforehand, and I fully would have watched a movie off of that
Yeah.
storyline.
Well, it's cool. It's
Um,
two cakes, right?
yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean the gore. Sometimes I was like, Jesus Christ, what's happening? But it's kind of like you said, you turn your brain off and you're like, all right, this is just like fun, and I'm here for the ride. I think Clooney, he's a charismatic lead. You know what I mean? He can play like a scum of the earth, and you'll still like him. And Tarantino gives an effective performance as a disturbing echo of himself. Um, and oh god, who was it? Don't let me say this wrong. Is it Harvey Keitel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic, great performance from
He's
him.
always
Yeah.
So great.
I
in that
agree.
movie.
I agree.
Yeah, so it was, it's a lot of fun. I think it's just a fun watch. Yeah.
Yeah,
This I think also has my favorite Juliette Lewis performance.
Yeah.
She's
Oh,
the
interesting.
daughter.
Great performers, yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
gotcha.
yes, she is.
Yeah, she's really good. I had also not seen this movie before, though I'd heard of it. And I think it's got. I mean, one of the hallmarks of Tarantino's writing style is these long. There's a lot of hallmarks, but these kind of almost drawn out cold opens, right? Where like you're introduced to characters who are not actually the characters you're going to wind up paying attention to them, but it's this, you're dropped into this moment, this slice of life thing, and then there's maybe some you get the sense pretty soon that well, surely this can't be all it is, right? But I really, really liked the opening. I liked how the sheriff comes in, he's shooting the breeze with this clerk, and then the very people that he's talking about are in the store behind him, and that reveal is so dope.
So cool.
Obviously there are a lot of comparisons. This is probably, in terms of at least plot and some of the bare bones setup, one of the most one-to-one pairings that we've done on the show, right? Where you've got a pair of brothers somewhat on the lam. I mean, Smoke and Stack.
I think Coogler would probably admit that he likes this movie a lot.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
sure.
And then not, of course, the vampire stuff, but also the way that both of them are bottle films, and they do both also. Coogler for sure has mentioned that he was influenced by John Carpenter's The Thing.
Mhm.
I can imagine that Robert Rodriguez might have been as well. So I appreciated looking out for those similarities. But yeah, I think it's incredibly well acted pretty much all the way throughout. I don't think of George Clooney as this kind of character, and yet
Me neither.
I found him great. And even Tarantino, who is playing his own Jungian shadow in this movie, is I think he, especially because he gets taken out halfway through, I think it's bearable.
Thank God.
Yeah, and,
For what
and
it's worth, I think he was the best person for this part.
Yeah, and also one of the even to get scene specific. So just to, I mean, if you guys haven't watched the movie and you're listening, the basic idea
Why?
is yes, yeah, you should watch it. Number one, but Clooney and Tarantino play these two brothers, Seth and Richie Gecko, who've just robbed a bank. They murdered like however many people, including a couple, at least one police officer. They're on the run, and as they are trying to run away, they're trying to make their way to Mexico. They kind of get into a bunch of different misadventures, to say the very least, and they wind up taking hostage a family, Harvey Keitel and his two children, and using their RV to get across the border. Along the way there, one of the first people they kidnap is, I guess she's like there's a woman already in their trunk, like a bank teller. Probably what I think is the most disturbing scene in the movie.
Oh yeah, the most
when she
disturbing thing
dies.
Tarantino has probably ever written.
Yeah,
and it's in
Yeah, it
his
was horrible.
script.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. And you just know, right? Like as soon as Seth leaves the motel and he's like, "Hey, man, like I'll be right back," you know that there's nothing good going on in Richie's mind.
Because you wanna watch TV?
Yeah,
Wanna
it's
watch
crazy,
TV?
dude. And him coming back, and you just see Clooney's reaction,
really good,
and then those cuts to the massacre inside the bedroom. Very effective filmmaking. But it doesn't stop there. I think, the rest of the movie is really cool.
Yeah, I love the moment when he smashed the fucking shit out of him in the trailer bathroom.
Yeah,
He won't shut up.
Haven't we all wanted to do that to Tarantino?
That's what I'm saying too. Like he, how much of this was written or how much of it was created once they all got on set? I'm not sure, but there is like Tarantino kind of putting himself as a piñata a bit in this.
Yeah.
Like he is, the butt of most of the jokes, and
you hate him. You hate him, and you want him to die. And when he's the first to die, you're like, thank fucking God.
And how much of the animosity between the brothers was real between Clooney and Tarantino, who by all accounts don't like each other anymore?
Yeah.
Recently, Quentin Tarantino was like, Clooney's not a real movie star, and Clooney like responded like he needs to shut the fuck up or something like that.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. Yeah,
I feel like every time Tarantino's in the news, we all just want to do that pistol whip to his face. That
knock him the fuck out.
This is an interesting time, Wes. I want to hear thoughts, Wes, in general, but also like this seems to be, speaking of Clooney, obviously this is an earlier role for him in general, but it's an interesting time in his career. I'm looking at his filmography right now.
He's doing ER at this point, right?
That's
okay,
awesome.
right? Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, he hadn't done Peacemaker yet, right?
He also around this time does the South Park movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
he's before he gets discovered, I think, by Soderbergh is this movie. So his Soderbergh persona hasn't quite, his Danny Ocean out of sight persona hasn't been solidified.
Right.
So I'd watched at least most of this as a kid because James Ralph put it on Monster Madness as when we were kids, like 2008 or 9. I gotta say I didn't like it as much this time around. I think from a craft perspective, I'll never say a bad thing about Robert Rodriguez. I think he's quite a wonderful director, and I wish he got more mainstream attention. But maybe as a transgressive artist who made Spy Kids is maybe where he wants to be. I think Clooney is really cool as like playing a part that he never plays again, which is like kind of like a charmless scumbag. Like, he's charming because he's Clooney, but he's not. He's kind of a bad dude.
Yeah,
like,
he's not built to be charming. He just is naturally.
Yeah, like the character arcs a bit when he becomes like the leader in the dive bar, though.
Yeah.
It feels like he starts to care about the Juliette Lewis character and her.
Yeah. He saves the kids intentionally.
He has redeeming qualities, I'll say.
Yes, he does. I mean, especially compared to his brother, who is, a rapist. And it's like, I told Dan this, and he disagreed, and I think, I don't think Tarantino is good in this movie.
Interesting.
And I think he's a major thing holding the movie back for me. Every time he was on screen, I was, it wasn't that I was annoyed because the character was infuriating. It's that I was kind of, I was taken out of the movie a bit with him in the movie. I think if you had gotten another actor who maybe was a better technical actor and could play a smarmy character like this, that is patently supposed to be an unlikable character, I think I would be able to fall into the movie a little bit more. It's also like, I mean, I'm not a prude. I think you really have to thread the needle with the sex crime that happens at the top of the film. That's super disturbing. Um, that feels like an event in the movie and is treated as such. And then uh, I don't know. It was a choice that took me out of the movie a bit.
Well, I think
Not
what's
because
interesting. Oh,
no,
sorry,
go ahead.
Wes. No, I was
No,
just
no,
going to say.
please.
I mean, I feel like he's not really supposed to be. I mean, maybe he was written that way, and he just completely went left with it. But he's not really swarmy. He's fucked up and awkward and like socially inept, and he's like
Yeah, that's fair.
quiet and you know what I mean. Like he's not really. It's kind of less of like Clooney is playing this straight stoic guy, and then he's playing this like charismatic devil who's also like a murdering rapist. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah. It's like his
effectively
weird
fucking
brother.
weird.
It's
Yes,
like his weird
exactly.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I all the stuff that's Keitel and Clooney and the family, I really dig. I think Keitel's like kind of the sleeper best actor in the movie. Uh,
That's great.
yeah, there's definitely. I mean, it's effectively the same structure as Sinners. I mean, Sinners has the almost exact same structure, not in a copying kind of way, and like hey, this works. Like, let's do this again in another setting. You know what I mean? Even down to the fact that the vampires have a mythology that's alluded to but not fully kind of
Yeah.
explained. Like in Dusk Till Dawn, I think it's we're to assume they're Aztec like death gods or something like that, and in in Sinners they're traditional vampires, but they're more connected to like the history of colonialism and all that stuff. So I dig all that stuff. I think it's a fun movie. I just wish I liked it more as much as I did when I first saw it as a kid.
Interesting.
I will say about the crime at the top of the film. It's interesting when there's like discourse that you see on like Twitter or whatever it may be, where people say the filmmakers didn't do a good enough job of conveying to the audience that the things that this person
Is
is
bad.
doing wrong. So like you'll see them say this about like the Wolf of Wall Street. Scorsese doesn't convey enough that Jordan Belfort is a bad person who's doing bad things. But I feel like what From Dusk Till Dawn is doing is kind of cure to this kind of criticism, because you're having fun with these characters, and then Tarantino's screenplay very bluntly and very directly communicates that you should not like these people and you should not support them, even though you're having fun. Keep in mind, this is a bad person and he's doing bad things. And I think that is the function of that scene where Seth walks in and finds the body, and Tarantino's character, whose name I forget, plays it off like it's in a very cavalier way, right?
Right.
And then he even says the "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like there is actually something really wrong with you, and it's not like jokey at all.
No, I agree, and I also like I don't want to discount, like, as a disclaimer to what I'm about to say, I think it's totally valid to be like, I just don't like this person, like character actor. What, like, I think you can, if the character didn't work for you, or rather if the actor or the character didn't work for you because of the actor, I think that's fine. I would just say I think it is interesting that Quentin didn't that Quentin chose to write this. Like, it's not the sort of self-insert maybe that you might have, well, apart from that one scene that we're about to get into, but he didn't write.
He literally self-inserted in that scene.
I guess what I mean is, like, he could have written this character to be more
sympathetic,
more empathetic, or more cooler, or suaver, or something, and instead he does write him as a depraved individual. But that could still just not, like, I could see why someone would watch this and be like, well, I just don't think that, like, you need that character in here, like, or maybe, or like you need him to go to that extreme.
I mean, you don't, because it's like you could have had him be likable in a way that's less disturbing, and he's still killed off, and it's satisfying. But I didn't have a problem. I wasn't like, wow, they shouldn't have done that. But I do think that's kind of interesting, that it's like, did you need to have something that dark for a movie that then becomes this kind of like fun bloody like action, you know what I mean,
Right.
horror thing. But
Well,
it's
I
interesting.
like that it challenges the audience. I like that it says, what about this type of character do you find so charming and endearing? Because here is like the darkest part of this type of character, and still support that?
Yeah.
Or, are you still having fun with that? Like, how do you interpret this now? Because a lot of where we follow like these kind of like lone wolf gangster tough guys kind of just show you the cool side of it and don't show you the part where like they go home and beat their wives, right? Where this is luring you into thinking it's that kind of movie where like these guys do bad things but they're fun, and then it actually challenges you as an audience member and what you think this character is and what you think this tone is and this kind of movie is.
Right. Well, and especially for a character like that in a movie, you know what I mean? Like that duo, you almost expect Quentin Tarantino to end up playing this sympathetic character. It's like, oh, he kind of got dragged into this by his older devilish brother, and he's kind of funny because he's awkward. But then no, he turns out to be just like a despicable monster. And I think it's interesting that they played against the awkward guy that you kind of secretly end up liking, even though he's a criminal, blah, blah, blah.
And we know that that's always in the back of Tarantino's mind. Like, what do audiences think of when it comes to tropes and things like that? And how can I challenge this? How can I subvert this?
Right.
It seems like it's a very intentional choice.
I think, yeah, and I hear what you guys are saying. I think it's less about I suppose it's less about the choice itself, and I think it's more about the fact that this is like, and I don't want to like cordon off and be like, well, you can't do this in a vampire movie, because I think genre is wide enough to be able to do anything. But I do think there's a little bit of a lack of care done to that specific topic, comparatively speaking to the rest of the film. Like it is a moment of great like sexual violence, and I think it only served to kind of be like, wow, this guy's really fucked up. He's really gonna get it. You know what I mean? Rather than, it is my thought at least.
Yeah, and I think there's a way, and then we'll we'll move off of this, but I think there's a version of this story that does more of an of mice and men thing, where like
Lenny.
Seth,
I was literally going to bring up Lenny.
to like Seth. I mean, I think, is Seth the one who kills him when he turns into a vampire?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that happens anyway. But I think like, let's say Richie didn't die, played by Tarantino or not. Like, let's say Richie somehow makes it toward the end, and then like does something monstrous separately from being a vampire, right? And now like thematically, what you're doing is, I mean, it's like, okay, he's, you're creating more of a contrast, I guess, which I think you could say the movie is doing, but because it's foregrounded and because that happens so early, you forget about it by the time the vampires arrive. I'm saying, like, let's say they get through this whole ordeal with the vampires, or in the midst of that, Richie maybe assaults someone in the bar or something, or afterwards, right? And now Seth, having been through this ordeal, thinking that he was going to come out on the other end of it okay, but now realizing, actually, no, my brother still is like a monster. Like, I mean, maybe that makes the movie a lot more like, if you end with that, it makes it a lot more serious if he has to kill his brother before he's turned into a vampire. But I think like that could have also been interesting, and that's almost what I expected. But he just kills him when he turns into a vampire, which is...
Well, you know what's interesting, and I actually never thought about this before. The moment that Tarantino's character, Richie, right, turns into a vampire, that is a moment of Seth having to come face to face with the monstrous nature of him kind of presented on the exterior.
Sure.
Right?
That's interesting.
Whereas he has this nerdy exterior and this monstrous interior, and so Seth can kind of forgive a lot of these things because he still sees him as like the dorky younger brother, right? Whereas in this moment when he becomes that vampire, the monster that he is on the inside is displayed on the exterior, and now Seth has to grapple with it, and he decides to put him down.
Yeah. It's an interesting. It is kind of the major thing that separates it from Sinners, which is like in Sinners they're kind of lovable rogues. Like they're traditionally bad people. Like if you ran into these people in life, you'd probably be like, these are bad people. Yeah. But in the world of the movie, similar to like Don Corleone or something, they don't break any of the internal. They don't break any of the internal morality of the film. So you're always kind of on their side, which is, I think, the strength of Coogler's script is like Stack never really changes.
I mean, they're going for such different stuff. I think a
Yeah.
filmmaker knows that like you can have people shoot each other in the ass all you want. The second you have a main character sexually assault someone, that is a hard break. Like that's a
Yeah.
cut. And from
Yeah.
that moment on, either you're urging the audience to not like that character.
Yeah.
We do have on the other end of the spectrum characters that are, I think, pretty like universally sympathetic, and that is
Yeah.
Jacob Fuller, played by Harvey Keitel, and his two teenage children, Scott and Kate. I think that so
Scott,
also we
man.
have
R.I.P. to the goat.
What the fuck happened to? Hey, no, sorry. I was just gonna say the son was just killed in a way that I wasn't expecting.
R.I.P.
I was
to the
like,
goat, Scott,
Jesus
bro.
Christ.
yeah, he was doesn't he get like? I mean, it's been a while since I watched this.
I think
Doesn't
he
he get like pulled
he gets
in half?
ripped apart.
Yeah.
He
And
gets
then,
fucking obliterated.
and then he explodes because what's her name shoots him anyway.
And,
Right,
and,
right.
and you think it's setting up for him, like early on, they're like, somebody is like, hey, like if you want to like watch a girl dance, like I got you, like I'm gonna
Yes.
essentially like. So you think it's like gearing
gonna
up
be the
for like a
hero.
coming of age? Yeah, you think it's gonna be like a coming of age?
He just gets
That
Obliterated.
whole stretch of the movie is kind of enjoyable though, when Seth starts to like the family and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
him
fun.
start to like trust him a little bit more.
Yeah, we have obviously some religious themes in here as well, and Jacob Fuller is dealing with mourning the death of his wife. He was a minister or a pastor, and since his wife died, he's kind of almost essentially apostatized. I mean, he's in this place where he's like, I don't think I no longer have the relationship with God that I used to. And it's sort of like, isn't that basically Signs too? The M. Night Shyamalan movie, isn't that Mel Gibson's part in that where he's like, he's a priest whose wife died? And anyway, maybe you guys haven't seen Signs.
Obviously.
No, I know what you're
Thanks,
saying.
Dan. So yeah, so we and these guys are just on a vacation when they wind up enthralled, or entwined rather with the Gecko brothers. Some good like kind of the sort of beats that you would expect from this setup, where like you do have that almost obligatory border crossing scene where they have to hide the brothers inside the RV, and convince the
Border,
the police officers, that they're not, holding anybody. Great, again, like Zach already mentioned it, but just knocking Quentin Tarantino out,
The fuck
and
out.
holding him up in the closet
And
because he
then-
can't keep himself together.
And I
is
love
great.
and I love they establish like a little connection between Clooney and what's her name? Is it Juliet? What is it?
Catherine
Juliette
Lewis is the actress.
Juliette Lewis. Yeah, they just establish a little like non-perverted connection between them. Well, I guess on his side at least, where like he knocks him out, and then like she wards off the border patrol guy by pretending to pee, and he just kind of looks at her. He's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's little things like that where they establish that Clooney, first of all, he has somewhat of a moral compass. But also they do a good job of keeping it like they don't give that to us too early, so that it's more rewarding later when he goes to protect them. Like he has this moment with Jacob where he's asking him, I think, about his faith. Like, they're driving and he's just like, what happened? He's asking him about his life. And then Jacob gives him like a snarky answer at one point after explaining some of his backstory, and Clooney's like, let's keep things friendly, okay? Like, I don't really care about you, I'm just asking questions, you know what I mean? Like, I like that they do that, because I think what we're waiting for the whole film, it's a popular trope, is bad guy anti-hero bands up with like a kid or a family that he begrudgingly ends up like trusting and becoming a father figure for. You know what I mean? And so
that's a good comp, Dan.
They do it, and they just do a good job, I think, of actually giving us that reward when it's warranted instead of like too early,
because it moves from they arrive at this place, this bar, which is, what is it called? It has some insane name.
The Titty Bar. No.
The Titty
The Twisted.
The Titty Twisters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle Front's listing all the different types of pussy.
A bar that they just
God.
picked out of a hat, essentially.
Yeah. And this is where
one of my favorite, I'm sorry, like gritty locales in movie history. It is so disgusting, but like I would love to like spend time there and just like take in all the crazy shit that's like happening around me.
What? You want to be there?
Yeah, I think seeing this so young, I thought that like bars would be like that when I got older, And then
thank God they're not.
bartender. I became a bartender, and I was like, "Oh, bars are actually some of the saddest places on
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah.
They're not fun like this at all. They're not like
You've clearly never been to pianos in the village.
Oh God.
no. Well,
You don't
I
need to.
wasn't a bartender at like a club or anything. I was a bartender at just like a bar. That
Yeah.
had like
Oh
sad,
wow.
middle-aged people, but it doesn't matter. I really like the titty twister. I really like the set. I really like the slow. I mean, the guy out front, like what do you call that? The yeller or whatever. He's listing
Yeah,
off
he's like
like
attracting people.
hairy pussy,
Horrible.
sweaty pussy. The slow kind of like introduction to that world, and then we go in, and it is like it almost feels like a bar, but like it's like a theme park. It's like Disney World or something.
Yeah.
Disney World are gritty dive bars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
one
I
of
know
the
exactly what you're
strengths
saying.
of this film is
Debaucherous Disney World.
the
It's-
atmosphere and the titty twister is so great.
I mean, it's great because it's like hell's amusement park is
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
it looks and feels like.
I really
And we
didn't like the guitar made out of a man. I didn't
Man.
fuck with that.
One of my favorite Tom Savini
I hate
effects
that
in the movie.
all times. I
That
hate
also
that.
just happened. Like the band is there the whole time. They don't do anything to anybody, and then suddenly,
They're just
like, oh,
playing.
they're also vampires.
Well, it's a
and they're playing.
fantastic reveal that you've been in the lion's den this whole time and you just don't know it. Like you cutting back to the band and like they're playing like human instruments. It's like so fucking cool.
Who is is it Cheech Marin who plays three characters?
Yes.
Like he has Cheech Marin, by the way, who
Love
plays
Cheech
the
Marin.
uncle.
And Machete too.
Yes, he plays the uncle in Spy Kids, the uncle who famously says, "Well, I'm their uncle." Not Danny Trejo, who is their actual biological. We got to do Spy Kids on the show. Cheech Marin plays like a guy outside the bar,
Yeah.
like one of the gangsters who comes in at the end, and one
And
of
a
the
border
vampires.
Yeah.
And the border guard. Oh my god, yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
He
we
has
do
so
get-
much love for Cheech Marin.
We
Dude,
get
I mean-
inside. We meet a bunch of characters in this place.
But who's the one that we all remember?
Well, I guess
Salma
we got to
Hayek?
talk about it, right? Yeah, as Santanico Pandemonium. So Dan, I'm assuming this is that scene that you said is kind of a
Yeah.
stumbling block in the middle
It's
of
painful.
the movie.
I just accepted it when I was a kid because I didn't know about like Tarantino's persona yet. But once you learn about like the man,
Yeah.
the one Quentin, middle name Tarantino, that scene kind of derails the entire movie, and it's actually
Yeah.
hard to sit through.
Yeah.
I've watched this a few times as an adult, and I love the movie.
For research.
I want to
This scene specifically.
Well, no. Okay, I don't hate the entire scene. I think one of the strengths of it, and I think I have to commend Robert Rodriguez here, the part until like the last third of that moment where it's just Salma Hayek dancing,
Yeah.
he should be very proud of himself, and it is one of the sexiest things ever put on screen. I think the last third of that, the second Tarantino enters the equation, it's like, bro, you had such a great thing. You had such a great, like, and he had to do that.
Well, here's the thing, man. I'm going to ask you.
The foot fetish thing was something he ever like said in an interview was like a point of pride, or did people just put that together because there's so much foot stuff in his movie?
I don't think you even had to put it together, dude. I think you got to watch like 20 seconds of any one of his movies and get it.
Yeah.
Wait, but Dan, I have a question. Would it have been worse or better? Is it the feet in the mouth, or is it the feet in the mouth and the alcohol that runs down his face?
That whole thing. It's all like one big.
But do you think the alcohol like makes it better or worse?
Fucking worse.
Well,
What do
the
you mean?
alcohol is the reason that she does it. I mean, if she just put her foot in the guy's mouth, it wouldn't really make sense. I mean,
I mean, it doesn't make sense as is, dude.
It's a conduit.
well, no, I mean, I think like a stripper trying to be sexy and give a guy a shot to like rile up all the guys makes sense.
Yeah.
The fact that it's Tarantino writing himself apart where Salma Hayek puts her foot in his mouth,
Right.
is
Which
ruins it.
does
And the scene, like the scene leading up to that, I think is great. I think the dance is great. The atmosphere of it is great. The way that everything kind of slows down and it becomes very sexy, I think it's fantastic.
yeah.
He ruins it in those last like 30 seconds.
He fumbles it at the end zone. Is
Slowly,
what you're saying.
Yeah.
Foot in his mouth, and he like makes unbroken eye contact with her. It's like, so fucking. It's so hard to watch.
Okay, so I have a. I'm sorry, I'm asking so many questions for you about this, but what? Because I just find it so. It's like the worst part of your favorite movie. What Tarantino self-insert is the worst? Like out of all his movies, including this, because I think it's without a doubt his part in Pulp Fiction, but
Yeah,
this is a very close second, I think.
this is a pattern with him where he writes like a solid screenplay and then he can't just hold him, restrain himself. Like he needs to like be on a leash when he directs movies. I feel like someone needs to be like the Tarantino handler.
That's enough. That's enough, Quentin. That's enough. Easy.
Yeah, I think the Dusk from Dawn thing is worse than him saying the N word 100 times in Pulp Fiction. It's just gross to like do to Salma.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's pretty bad.
He's not having another actor perform a sex act.
Yeah, I think I don't know this man in real life, obviously, but I imagine like what that question, Wes, made me wonder, like if there's an aspect of Quentin when he writes and he writes these parts for himself where he feels like I'm gonna write one of the most despicable kind of people there is, and then I'm going to play that. I don't know if it's a sort of like masochism or he thinks that like it's a responsibility he has like to filmmaking or culture or whatever to like inhabit these types of personalities.
He just put that in there, the goon, I'm sure.
So 100%. Yeah, I mean, again, that's like we're doing a lot of thinking about something that is pretty
cut and dry.
Like,
it's pretty cut and dry. It's pretty like if I was a director, I would get the hottest woman on the planet to put her feet in my mouth. Like it's pretty cut and dry, dude.
The thing is, he has to go through Robert Rodriguez to do that. Like he has to.
Well, I mean, they're friends.
Rob,
like I don't. There wasn't a lot of explaining. He like Robert Rodriguez was reading it, and they got to that scene. He goes, "And you're gonna play this, Quentin?" He's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Got it." And just kept going to the script.
Solid. It was probably like the day of. He's like, "Hey, I did a little rewrite last night in the hotel room after the drinks. Let me know what you think of the scene."
So, I mean, there really isn't as much like story to talk about here as there was with Sinners. Like at a certain point, they realize everybody's vampires and there's just vampire killing. And there's a lot of like great vampire kills in the movie that I'm sure we could roll call. I don't remember all of them. I do like Fred Williamson impaling 4 vampires on each leg of the table.
That's cool.
That's pretty great.
I like the squirt guns full of holy water.
Holy water's great.
I do as well. That's cool.
Ideas in the movie, and I also this is the only vampire movie I think I've seen where they very bluntly say any 2 sticks combined to form a cross is enough to repel them.
To at least ward off.
That is like a last little tool in the arsenal that they do creative stuff with.
Yeah, I mean, to talk about the arc, right? Like for Clooney's character, when he at the climax is able to help Jacob rally enough to like fight back, and he's like, "We need you to bless this holy water. Like, are you a servant of God or not?" Basically, and I thought that was really cool.
That was cool.
And they find this whole servant of God. They find this whole munitions camp in the back of the club, which is perfect for them. I do really like. I will say, I think like the action in Sinners isn't something that I'm going to remember it for, but it's like that's really not what the movie is necessarily interested in, which is part of why the way it was advertised was so kind of like.
Even though Sinners does have some pretty great practical effects,
for sure. For sure.
I mean, I love when Remick has that kind of demonic. When Sam breaks the guitar over his head.
Starts opening up. No, all that is great. All the effects are great. I mean, in terms of like actual
the fighting,
killing or fighting highlights.
When they just throw in like 3 extras so that there's more kills in the movie. 3 guys on the good guys team.
That's been like a high moment of argument now. They're like, where are the other 2 guys?
You know damn well that they didn't exist before that. But hold on, because the 3 guys that they have in there are so like they're the main characters. It's like Smoke, it's the kid, and it's the old man. It's like we know exactly, like we know everyone who is in that bar. So when suddenly the vampires are killing other men, I'm like, oh, is it?
But Zach, you got to think about it this way, bro. Like you need someone to die immediately, right? And they're not going to kill off any of the main characters in the side of a frame. So they just had to create, like they're there, they just don't talk. You know what I mean?
Bullshit! They were standing in a circle and they had to eat garlic. That was the whole point to make sure that they were vampires. Get the fuck out of here.
They're there in that scene.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not. I love that movie. I don't even care about that.
Zach,
but
you're
those
right.
men didn't exist. Yes, thank you, James. Wes,
Wait.
Wes.
But I have a very important question for you guys, and perhaps this ends our episode. Which one of us do you think dies first in a locked door vampire situation?
You. No, Dan.
It's not me.
Is Salma Hayek part of the equation?
Sure.
So me.
Is it Dan? Dan's first.
By the way, that part with Delroy Lindo slashes his fucking wrist open and he goes last call for Delta Slim. Every time I watch that movie, the gore in that is really fun. But I was like, oh shit!
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Well, it looks real.
He's dragging it.
It's very
It's pretty brutal, yeah.
down.
And it's just squirting out of him, yeah.
I got to be honest with you guys. I'm not sacrificing myself for you guys like that.
Well, here's
neither am I.
Here's the thing.
I wouldn't even get far
I'm getting
enough
out of there.
in the equation to
think about it.
I would let Salma Hayek do whatever.
Ironically enough, I think that the vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn are less dangerous.
Yes.
They seem easier to kill.
They're easier to kill.
Yeah.
They're scary.
Well, the vampires and sinners are like a hive mind.
Right.
And
Well, also, the difference here is the vampires and sinners aren't trying to intimidate you.
Yeah.
They're trying to actually lure you in into a false.
They're like a cult.
Yeah.
It's
As
like join our church.
Yeah.
They know that they're fucking scary, and they're like trying to scare you the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine you're inside a house, like inside this like bar that you decided to go to, freaking out, and you outside like 80 vampires are getting down. They're like breakdancing and like
Assimilationist
Robin
Irish
clean.
dancing.
Are you letting the vampires in? Are you saying, "Oh, y'all come in"?
No,
Is that you
I've
guys?
said it. But I said it before. I think I said it when we recorded this. That was the fucking most annoying part of that movie is when she called them in. I would have shot her in the face. I would have been like, "Just you go out there, then."
I actually think that moment is quite good. I think
Fuck
the emotional reasoning for it is pretty smart.
But it pissed me off. I mean, sure, yeah. Like I guess if I but I don't fuck it.
And she goes out like a G.
I love that
immolates and
her own husband.
Emotional.
Sure, yeah. And it's a really cool moment for Remick because you get that really awesome shot of him like hearing it and being
where he
like,
goes, "Huh."
Yeah, like that's great. But no, that pissed me off.
It's I've seen at least 6 Remick edits on TikTok, and one of them was to the Chloe song "Have Mercy." You know, I keep flossing like I do. That song.
The gift of him finishing his dance. Everybody comes to embrace him.
Oh yeah, and it's like white guys when Mr. Brightside starts playing in the club. Yeah.
You think
He was like,
was going to get nominated?
No.
I think she will.
No. I think she's great. I think she should be nominated. I don't think she will. I think if anyone gets nominated, it's going to be Delroy.
Nominations from that movie, I think there's a few.
Delta Slim is my favorite character in that.
I think Delroy will get nominated if they nominate someone.
Do you guys have a favorite character in From Dusk Till Dawn?
Harvey Keitel.
I think it's the Tom Sweeney character for me.
Sex Machine?
Yeah.
He's cool. He is cool. I like that he's like, even though he is insane for having that contraption, that he's like an actual hero figure for the movie. Like
it's kind of just funny that a movie exists where Tom Savini and George Clooney kill vampires together. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Do you think Clooney will ever make a fun movie, like a fun
I don't think
movie again?
He wants to do movies anymore. I think he just wants to do theater
and produce.
I mean, yeah, probably.
We can give final thoughts now. And I'll say, just in terms of like other things I didn't touch on, I like the sort of like super heroic, fantastical ending of like, oh right, the light hurts them, like shoot the walls, like let's get more sunlight in here, and then they just start evaporating, and that's really fun. I like the sort of silent, who knows? I mean, it's at least it's definitely a kindredness. There's a trauma bond between Clooney and the girl. It doesn't. I mean, it's like this kind of suggestion of like she wants to go with him or she wouldn't mind going with him, but he's like, nah, like this isn't your life. Like go back where you belong. I know there are sequels to this. I'm probably not going to watch them.
There's a TV show.
There were a few like Sci-Fi Channel movies. I saw the second and third. I don't know if there were. I never saw the TV show. Watched the second and third ages ago. I only remember bits and pieces of them.
Well, I just to say also, like, I think it's got I really like the ending reveal that shows us like this bar was a front for this buried, Mayan or Aztec or Mesoamerican temple. And so I mean, it's been a while. I don't know if y'all remember these, but if I were to give it a morgue rating, I'd put it somewhere between embalm and reanimate. I think that I think on Letterboxd I gave it 3 or 3.5. I think it's pretty watchable, apart from that huge chunk of
30
raw,
seconds. I would love to just chop.
that and that the moment earlier on in the movie that we spent a good portion talking about, the assault scene, or the implied assault scene after the fact. That's that keeps it from being like a super fun romp, obviously, all the way through. But it is pretty rewatchable. It's pretty quotable, and there's a lot, certainly from the filmmaking level when it comes to the practical effects and everything else that's worth taking a look at. So I'd put it high embalm.
Well, piggybacking off of that bit about the last shot of the movie that I love so much, I wonder if Tarantino, because I know he considers it to be one of the few perfect movies that exists, I wonder if he was inspired by the car graveyard from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this is one of his favorite, one of the perfect movies to exist. I was like, of course he thinks so.
He said that one of the few perfect movies that exists is Texas Chainsaw. And
that's fair.
Pam and Kirk walk up to the Sawyer residence and they see the tarp, and there's 100 cars underneath the tarp. And the implication there is that they've done this to hundreds of tourists, right?
Yeah, right.
For the roadside barbecue establishment that they have. Knowing how Tarantino feels about that movie, I wonder if that last shot was inspired by that.
Because you also have all the cars that are
the trucks.
And the implication is the same
Crashed.
thing. The implication is also that they've done this to hundreds of tourists.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a high reanimate. Much like Sinners, I like it as a gangster film, a Western, and a horror film.
I didn't bomb it as well. I didn't enjoy it as much, but I think there's stuff to like about it. And I think if Quentin Tarantino wasn't in it, I think it goes up to 40 points for me. I think if it's if you get a young Philip Seymour Hoffman, throw him in here, it goes up.
I'll say one more time, we differ here. I think he's really good.
I think he's good.
That's okay. Dan, we agree about so much stuff, dude. It's okay.
I mean, I think I also embalm it. I thought it was a fun movie. It's not something I'd probably be quick to watch again, but I think it's, Harvey Keitel is really cool in it. And I think he's just an underrated actor in more popular circles. Yeah. And it's a cool role for George Clooney that you don't really see him do again. But yeah, I think I'm safe to embalm it.
Yeah. You guys watch ER? You guys ever watch it?
I never did.
You got to get on that ER wave. It's great.
I know. I got to watch that. I got to watch The Pit.
You got to watch Peacemaker, man.
You said that wasn't a joke, George.
So no. It's an older movie that he did a year after this with Nicole Kidman called Peacemaker.
I thought he was
soldier.
punching John Cena in the face.
No,
in one of those episodes.
No. It's it's like he's like a military dude and she's like an analyst or something, and he's just a fucking cool guy, and he does cool he's in a helicopter at one point, and it looks very practical. He's just sitting on the edge of this helicopter as it just makes this big turn, and he has this awesome fight scene. You just got to see it.
Zach, bring it on the show, man.
I'll bring it to the show.
We'll find
the Peacemaker.
The Peacemaker, yes.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode, folks. We thank you very much. We're glad to be back. We're going to figure out what the rest of our recording schedule looks like. July is here, and it's bringing Superman. So
I'm taking Superman.
Maybe we'll do that. And
I'll say right now we're going to do Superman with Iron Giant. You can cut that if it doesn't happen. But or honestly, depending on what Superman ends up being, we might do Superman and Spider-Man too. But we'll figure that out.
Or we could do Superman and Man of Steel.
Yeah, Wes would love that.
But Wes will kill me.
Wes would love that. Can we? And bring Ani on for that.
I know. We just lock Wes and Ani.
Let's just go back to Iron Giant. I think Iron Giant was smart. And let's do that, dude.
We love you guys. Thank you very much for listening. If you want more cinema surgery, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and the Podbean app. Rate and review us wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. And stay cool, because it's going to be a hot one. Hot summer.